Hello friends and welcome. I'm Sarah Liz and I am back with another emergency card kit. If you're new to my channel, an emergency card is one where we make the cards ahead of time, but we leave the sentiments off. That way, when an occasion arises, we can choose the card that best fits the recipient and the sentiment that best fits the occasion. To help you with this, I release a free printable kit full of sentiments and card sketches on the first and third Friday of every month. Those sketches use sentiments in these 3 key sizes so that every card uses an interchangeable sentiment and you can really stretch your stash. Let's take a look at the kit. We're covering 2 themes in this kit, and so I've tried to separate them onto different pages. So the first couple pages, we're going to cover sweet holiday sentiments, and then after that, there are religious sentiments, so that if you don't send religious cards, you can print just the sweet ones and vice versa. We have happy holidays with love. Holidays are hard, thinking of you this holiday season. Merry Christmas and season's greetings. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Merry everything. May your boundaries survive this holiday season. Joy and peace this holiday season. Tidings of comfort and joy. And then those 8 repeat down at the bottom. The first page is a 1 3/4 inch circle, and then the black circle prints a little bit bigger than that. It's really there to help you get everything centered. This next page has the same sentiments, but I've removed that circle in case you want to use a different size circle or a different shape altogether. On this next page, we have rectangle sentiments. These are about 2 1/4 inches by 1 1/4 inches, and you have tick marks on here to help you get them lined up in your trimmer. These repeat as well, and then some of them have been adjusted just to make them fit on the other shape. Then we have strip sentiments. These print at about 1/4 inch. There are tick marks on the side to help you cut them out. You're going to get 2 of each, and then we have 4 fonts. We have our whimsical fonts here, and then here we have a scripty font and a classic serif font. And then we kind of start over. So the next couple pages are religious sentiments. Noel, O Holy Night, the stars are brightly shining, a weary world rejoices, silent night, holy night, hark the herald angels sing, joy to the world, let heaven and nature sing, and then those will repeat. So we have those with the circle around them, and then the same sentiments, but I've removed that circle. We have rectangle sentiments, and then we have strip sentiments in those same 4 fonts. Then we have our card sketch. We're going to make 3 cards with this sketch today. So we have our A2 version here, and it's just a flat card. This is actually going to hang off the side, but it will still fit in an A2 envelope. Then you have a sketch to turn it into a fun fold. We'll do that second. And then I have a 5x7. I ran out of room on here for the measurements for the 5x7, but if you are a member of my Patreon, which you can join completely free, I will have it linked in the post with the video and the kit. All of the pages I've shown you so far can be found in the description box below the video. It is completely free to download. All I ask is that you subscribe to my channel. And if you know a friend who could use some crafty freebies, send them to my channel as well. I am on a mission to make crafting more affordable and more accessible. There are actually 9 more pages and 5 digital images included in this kit for Patreon members. I have 4 tiers of paid membership, but there's also a free membership. And if you download your kit from Patreon instead of from YouTube, and there'll be a link to it like right next to the YouTube download, you can also get this page. And we're going to use this digital image in one of our cards today. I can fit 3 on a page because we have sort of a different sketch going on today, and I love that. If you have your notifications turned on, this would have been sent to your email this morning. That's for all members, paid or free members of Patreon. If you're a paid member at the $2 level, this page is available for a limited time until Sunday, October 20th at midnight Central Time. There is a link right next to the YouTube download to take you to the limited time content folder in Patreon. Just make sure you're logged into Patreon and you'll be able to download this version of it. We have those elegant ornaments, but this watercolory, whimsical Christmas tree, and then this very playful present pattern, I think just gives you a ton of options for your holiday cards. After Sunday, this page will only be available to the Sassy supporters. That's the $5 tier and up. And that will be included in your databases. There will be a link to it. Also available to the Sassy supporters the Saskatoons and the Champions. So those top 3 tiers starting at $5. We have 2 additional fonts for both sets of sentiments. This one we've used before, but this one's new. And I love that it is thick and bold and very readable, but also whimsical and fun. So we have that for our sweet holiday sentiments. These are a little bigger as well. These are 3/8 of an inch instead of a 1/4 inch. And then we have that for the religious sentiments as well. So again, all of that is going to be linked in Patreon for you. There are quick links to your folders. So if you're a Saskatoon member, just look for the Saskatoon resources folder link in the description box below. For my top 2 tiers, we have a bunch of digital paper. So we have larger versions of that present paper, and this is perfect for an A2 size card. This is the portrait orientation, and then that's your landscape orientation. If you're a Sassy Champion, there's also just a 6x6 digital image that you can resize and do all kinds of things with. So we have a couple more pages of these digital images for those top 2 tiers. I love for our current sketch to have the tree on this side, but I also wanted to give you the option to have it on the other side. If you're using the digital image, you could flip that in your editor, but I know not all of us are that techie, so I wanted to do that for you. Then we have our ornaments, and it's a little bit bigger, and then we have it in both orientations. Here's a quick look at those 5 digital images that are included for the Saskatoon level. I love having these options to print our digital papers, to crop them down so we're only using as much ink as we absolutely need. Those are linked in your database. So again, the Sassy supporters, Saskatoons, and Champions have quick links to their resource folders in the description box below, right next to our regular download. If you aren't yet a member of my Patreon, I'll leave a link at the very top of the description box. You can join for free. Once you join, at the top of the homepage, I always have pinned the most current kit, and there's always going to be bonus content in the kit when you get it from Patreon. All right, let's make some cards. So our card base this time is 7 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. And I'm going to put that in my scoreboard and score at 3 5/8 of an inch. And then I'll just fold it in half. It's just a side folding card that's a little bit smaller. So I'm using one of our bonus pages here. The top 2 images are only available to paid members, but free members can get this image. Again, that is linked in Patreon, so all the links are below. I have trimmed that down to 3 5/8 by 5 1/2. The image on the PDF is ever so slightly bigger than that. I wanted it to be really easy to make sure it would stretch your entire card front. I will say I had a day. None of my card bases were the right size. My black cardstock comes from Michaels, and a lot of times their 8.5 by 11 sheets aren't actually 8.5 by 11. So if you see me trimming off extra pieces, it's that and a little bit of user error, but the measurements on the printable are correct. I have 3 strips of cardstock. They're all specialty cardstock, but I was able to use scraps for this. This first one's a 1/4 inch, and it's a glossy black cardstock from Trinity Stamps. The next one is a black shimmer cardstock. They call it brushed black cardstock from Spellbinders, and I hoard that stuff. It's heavyweight, super pretty. So this was a teeny tiny scrap. I was only able to cut it because I have a die in my Emergency Card Essentials die set that is that size. It's Emergency Card Essentials #1, and it's a 3/8 inch strip. And then that glitter strip is a 1/2 an inch. So I'm just trimming off the excess, and then I have some circles. I have a silver glitter circle that is 2 1/4 inches, and I'm gluing a matching black circle on the back because you can see it a little bit on the card, and I didn't like that flash of white when the card base is so dark. I have some brushed black cardstock that's 2.5 by 1.5, and when I'm adding 2 slick surfaces together, right, I sometimes find that my Barely Art glue doesn't want to grab right away. So I put glue on the glitter cardstock and set it aside. And then I'm putting glue on a 2-inch circle from some matte gold cardstock. I cut that again with the dies from the Emergency Card Essentials because it has this great debossed detail around the edge that is super pretty. But you guys know, if you've been here, I've just been using punches and regular old dies for 2 years, and that will work just fine. but if I have my dies, I'm gonna use them. I'm trying to be careful with all of this specialty cardstock, but once it's good and adhered, I'm gonna add this onto the 3 strips on the edge of my card, okay? So I am just centering my largest circle on those 3 strips. All that's left now is to add a sentiment, and I'm gonna use this Happy Holidays with Love, but I've printed it onto black cardstock. This is also from Michaels. It's 65 pound. It goes through my printer nicely. And I am just centering my punch inside of the circle, and I'll know that it's centered. I have a laser printer, so that means this was toner printed and not inkjet printed. So I can foil this with a laminator or a MInc machine. I have a little piece of Deco foil, and I have just sandwiched that into like an A2 card base of heavyweight cardstock. I have my mini MInc on setting number 4, and I'm gonna run it through. Every laminator, every MInc, every Gina K fuse is a little bit different, so you have to play around and find out where it works best for you. But I want to let this cool before I peel this off because we melted that toner. It's like little pieces of plastic, so I want them to cool and harden and really grab onto that foil. And it foiled so beautifully. I don't use Deco foil all that often. It's just not as economical as, say, the Tailored Expressions foil or the Gina K foil, or the Pink and Main foil is an excellent value. I'll link to some of those options below, but it's so pretty and really easy. I did add it with removable adhesive in case I change my mind later. Our second card is a fun fold, and there are instructions in the printable. Our card base is 8 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm scoring at 1 1/8 and 4 3/4 inches. Then I can just fold this up. I want the short flap on the left and the long flap on the right. They're gonna overlap, but because of the way we cut and scored, it's going to fit together perfectly. I'm using this new paper pad I got from scrapbook.com. And if you had told me I was going to use this particular pattern as my first piece from that pad, I'd be shocked. The pad is called Snow Days, and it's a warm gray with a snowfall pattern, and I'm flicking on some purple metallic ink. I just got these paints from Spellbinders during their warehouse sale. They just started carrying them. I was so pleased at how quickly and easily I was able to pick up the pigment. Sometimes with my metallic paints, I have to really work the paint for a little while before I can splatter, but not these. So I'll link them below. Very pleased. They were very inexpensive. I am adding my pattern paper onto the longer flap. This is the flap that goes on the right-hand side. I'll trim off any excess, and then I have another piece that I'm going to add onto the short flap. That short flap is the same size as our first card, but I am not using the individual strips. So instead, this piece is 1 1/8 by 5 1/2. I have 3 circles, 2 1/4, 2 inches, and 1 1/2 inches. And I am going to stack those up, but I also have some die cuts I want to add in here. So this is the Christmas add-on for the Not Your Ordinary card collection from Wendy Vecchi. And it's been sitting in my to-use pile for a while. There's actually like a pocket envelope piece that is part of the collection that I thought I was going to use in today's sketch, but I changed my mind completely. And in the changing of my mind, some of these pieces were already put together. So this little wreath piece, the greenery piece, I have stacked with glitter cardstock and 2 pieces of heavyweight white cardstock. I was going to use it for a different project, and I'm stacking that behind my white piece and then adding foam tape where I don't have that die cut because it's going on top of the green one, and I want everything to sit flat at the same level. I'm only adding glue where it's going to overlap the green die cut because we're going to put this on the short flap of our card, which means that white glitter greenery, I don't know what to call it, but the leaves and things, that's going to be hanging out kind of in no man's land when we go to open the card up. So it's actually perfect that it's stacked up and super sturdy. I'm going to put a white glitter heart right in the middle. I know that for many people, the holidays are a difficult time for a variety of reasons. And so this card is for them. I have a sentiment in this kit, and then there's one from last year's kit that are really about acknowledging how difficult it can be and trying to offer support. So the greenery and heart come from that same die set, but there's also this ticket die. And it will fit around most of our sentiments, but not this one. It's a little too big. So I used my resizable sentiments. Our top 2 tiers starting at $12 have access to resizable image files for the sentiments. And I just brought this into Microsoft Word and then made the file a little bit smaller than our 8.5 by 11. I do have a video where I launched my Patreon and I show you how to resize image files. So I will link to that below. I've cut this in half so that it will fit through my die cutting machine. And then I'm going to tape my die onto that paper to make sure that everything is centered exactly the way I want it. I wanted to keep as much of that page intact so that I can still cut out the other sentiments later. I stacked up that white ticket because I used 65-pound white shimmer cardstock, and I like to add these with removable adhesive, and I didn't want that to get bent if I'm taking it off and replacing it with something else. Then I used the same ticket in green and I offset that down and to the right, and it fits perfectly in that opening on the bottom. Holidays are hard, sending love and hugs. You could add a piece of white cardstock on the inside if you wanted, but I'll just use a white gel pen. Next, we're going to make a 5 by 7 card. So I have a piece that is 8.5 by 7 inches. I'm scoring at 1 inch and 4 7/8 of an inch. The printable got super full, so those measurements are in Patreon. They're in just the main post. If you get that emailed to you because you have the notifications on, then you'll have it there as well. I want to ink blend on the large flap. So I just used some scratch paper to mask off the other side of the card. It's right up against that score line. I'm using black ink on fog cardstock, but because I'm using a Spellbinders brush, they're huge and fluffy. It looks gray. I love this. This gives me a cooler gray than any of the gray inks I have, which all tend to lean warm. I'm not sure why. Every company I have, it's a warm gray. So if you have a nice cool gray ink that you like, let me know. I'm also going to ink blend a little bit on some ornaments. These are from the Simon Hurley collection. I'll show them to you later when I remember that I'm recording this for people, but there are 3 of them. And I am just adding a little bit of ink from the bottom so it will start darker and then get lighter as we go up. I want some shimmer. It's a Christmas card. So I am also dabbing on some Delicata white shimmer ink. If you don't have a lot of specialty cardstock, I love this ink. It's translucent, so it's not really changing the color. It's just going to add some shimmer, and it's a great way to turn small pieces of cardstock into specialty cardstock. So I'm going to hold these up for you here and try to catch that in the light. It is stunning. It's hard to capture on camera, but I promise it's great, and it dries really well. I did hit it with my heat tool, but if you just give it some time, it will dry on its own. There are lots of metallic inks out there, and I tell you what, I have had a field day with inks that don't dry, so I will never recommend a metallic ink that doesn't dry. I just won't do it. When you cut these dies, there is just the basic shape, and then there's an insert to put in it to cut the really delicate colored pieces that I have. So I have a backer piece for each of my ornaments that I cut from some silver glitter cardstock, and then I'm just gonna stack those up and add the little toppers on them. This one's a little bit tricky. There are some center pieces that aren't attached to anything. So I actually left the whole die cut together. It came out of my die that way. I thought that was great. And I'm only adding glue onto sort of the outside frame, and then there are 5 little pieces that go in the middle. Here, I'm trying to wipe off some of the glue because I thought there was too much, and you can see me pulling one out, and I'm like, uh-oh. This actually worked beautifully, even though it is glitter cardstock, right? And I sort of pressed and I peeled up gently. But what's gonna happen is that once I get that center piece out of there, and then there's a couple other pieces I forgot to pop out before I glued it down, I'm gonna go to add the topper on this ornament before the other pieces have really had a chance to dry. And I'm just gonna mess with it too much, and I'm gonna move them around, and I'm gonna have to fix them with my pokey tool. I will save you that. I will save you all of that. The toppers, by the way, are 2 pieces. I put those together off camera. because I was going to use them for another project. So waste not, want not. Then here is the actual die set. There are also little strands so you can hang them. And then this is the Halloween add-on from that same Wendy Vecchi set. And I love this cat. We're going to use it as a Christmas cat, not a Halloween cat. Both sets for the add-ons have that little ticket in them, and they come with that stamp set, so you can put that in the ticket as well. So tons of options in there. I love when Spellbinders comes out with add-on sets because they really aren't add-ons most of the time. There's usually lots of ways to use them independently. I'm doing that today. Last year it was the Christmas wreath add-ons. Well, that's my favorite for holidays, but just the build a wreath and then all the add-ons. They are amazing. I'll try to link that collection below. It's probably still available so you can see the different pieces. So here's the thing about this cat. I wanted to color some things in, and the ears were very easy. I just used a pink pen and then I sort of eyeballed where the nose was going to go. But I wanted a little bit of color under the eyes. I saw it this way on the Spellbinders blog and I was like, that's amazing. So I laid my cat on top of the white piece like this, but then I shifted him up ever so slightly so I could trace under the black loop so I would know where my color needed to stop because I want the dot at the top to be white. I'm going to get this pretty good, and then off camera after I get everything glued down, I'm going to fix it up a little bit, and I'm going to have to like go find my glasses first and then put my big head right over the top of it. But I did most of my coloring on camera here. I didn't do any shading for the eyes. I did a little bit for the ears, but only because that Olo marker has the two colors connected for me. And then I'm going to glue that right on top. So cute. I have these little strands that I cut from some silver cardstock, like a matte silver cardstock, and I'm holding them with my tweezers. I have my ornaments arranged on my big flap, and actually this first one went down so beautifully, right? I pressed it where I wanted at the top of the ornament, and then I could use my tweezers to kind of line it up with my grid and make sure it was straight. But then it got tricky. And it's only tricky because that short flap is in my way, and every time I touch it, the whole card is moving. So I will get smarter on the third one, and I'm going to tape my card down, and I'm going to tape that flap down so it's not in my way. This is the longest strand I'm adding. It should be the hardest, but it was not too bad once I had it so my card wasn't going to move. I suppose you could just put something heavy on it as well. Once I get the strands glued down, it's like really easy sailing from here. So I'm adding glue all over the backs of the ornaments and then just a tiny little bit at the top. It's raised a little bit because I have several layers of cardstock on the ornament, and it's perfect. I can line up the top of the ornament topper with the very bottom of the string, and they are the same level. It's absolutely perfect. I cannot believe this works so well. Usually when I'm putting ornaments on a card, things get kind of wonky and lumpy. Lumpy, is that a card word? It is now. But that's it. So all my ornaments are on. I'm going to take my tape off, and then I'm just going to use my scissors to trim those pieces off the top. Piece of cake, no problem at all. To turn my cat into a Christmas cat, I am grabbing a Santa hat from the large die of the month for October. I love this one so much. So it has these feet and slippers and then toppers for the slippers. One of them is Santa, so I stole Santa's hat. What I love most about it is that there's a Santa hat that goes each direction. So it was not a problem to try to figure out, well, is the flap going to work on that ear with that hat? Because I'm putting the hat on the flap. So the hat like comes off the cat and goes back on the cat. And the cat's like looking up at this ornament that he wants, but also kind of the hat coming at him. Oh, my friends, I just thought this was so much fun. Let me know if you have picked up any of the glossy cardstock from scrapbook.com yet. This is my first try with it. So I have a strip that is 1 inch by 7 inches that I'm going to add onto our short flap. This is the glossiest glossy cardstock I have ever encountered. Some of their older specialty cardstocks were really thin. It felt like a piece of plastic, like plastic printer paper. This is much thicker, definitely a cardstock, but it is slicker than anything I've ever used. And you'll kind of see that later. For now, I'm going to put my hat on my cat and I'm taping the flap closed on my card and lining up the hat. There's like one position that works to completely cover his ear. And then this is my sticky mat. I haven't used it in ages. It is like an off-brand Cricut mat, and I just cut it into smaller pieces. So I've laid it down to pick up the hat, and then I'm using a piece of MInc tape so I know exactly where to put my glue, so I'm not going to end up with glue on the cat. Then I can lay the sticky mat right back down in the same corner, and I know that it's going to line up perfectly right where it was before. I'm going to take my tape off and very gently open everything up and give that a really good press and make sure it's perfectly adhered. It worked better than I could have thought. Then we're going to work on our sentiment. So I have already cut out a couple strip sentiments from the Cute Holiday Kit. This one came out earlier in the month. There are a couple cat sentiments. Merry Catmas. It's the meow meowiest season of all. And this one, oh Christmas tree, your pretty lights are history. That particular sentiment is only available as a strip sentiment in this kit, but if you went to the Stress-Free Card Maker Summit, there's a larger version of that sentiment that was in that free download, so you can check there too. I have my 3/8 inch strips of purple cardstock that I cut with my Emergency Card Essentials dies. You guys, if I knew what a mouthful it was to say that every time I brought it up, I would have named it something else, but at least we know what it's for. I am just lining that up on my strip of cardstock and then trimming off either side so I have equal margins on all four sides. Here, I'm adding my normal removable adhesive, and I'm going to try to add this onto this glossy cardstock from scrapbook.com. I'm auditioning. Where do I want it to go? I love this spot on the side. I'm going to press it down. I had to go back later and try glue dots, like full strength glue dots, because it does not stay with removable adhesive on that cardstock. Just a heads up. But I am also wondering how it foils. I'm going to try that next. I am adding my other sentiment on the bottom on the inside, and then that finishes up this card. I love this. This will probably go to my oldest son, who is totally cat obsessed. Though his grandparents just got a dog and he might be switching to Team Dog. We'll have to see. All right, my friends, those are our 3 card projects for today. They're very different, and I would love to know which of these 3 is your favorite. If you are interested in the free kit that has these new sweet and religious sentiments, it is linked in the description box below the video. Click more or show more. All I ask is that if you're going to use my free download, please subscribe to my channel. And if you know someone who could use some crafty freebies, please send them to my channel. Don't just pass along the PDF. I am on a mission to make crafting more affordable and more accessible for everyone. If you are interested in the version of the kit that has digital images in it, all members of my Patreon, free members included, can get this page that has this image in all 3 spots. It is part of the PDF that will always be available to you. It is linked at the top of Patreon. I've pinned it, and it will be there until the next kit comes out. If you had your notifications turned on, then you got it in your email this morning. If you are a paid member of Patreon at any tier starting at $2, you can get the page with all 3 of these, but only until Sunday, October 20th at midnight Central Time. So those are in the collections folder that is limited time access. There is a link straight to it right next to the other download. Then for all of my other Patreon paid members at any tier, there are quick links to your membership folders and your databases with your searchable sentiments and your resizable images, all of those good things. And you'll find them right next to the other download. If you have any questions, certainly let me know. Thank you all so much for spending your time with me, and I will see you next time.